Hi, my name is Gary Angel. I'm an architect and I've been one for a long time. My part of an architectural process is the upfront part where you need to make people open their wallets. What I do is I do the illustration, the design, sometimes the design somebody I'd illustrate for someone else, but I do digital. In the past I've done pencil, watercolor, pen, and I followed the digital trend using it as background for the watercolors, and then I moved on to just digital probably in 2007, when the downturn of the economy. So anyway, I'm proficient in both areas, the traditional and the digital. I still love to do the traditional, and I do lots of traditional on vacations. What I'm going to show is the tools that I use in my profession and that are pretty much widely used in the industry. The use of the softwares that I have, they're both used by designers. And the first is SketchUp. It's a rudimentary sort of a rectilinear software that allows you to quickly put together an idea or to take AutoCAD drawings, DWG files, and even the Revit files, and put those in 3D. Or sometimes you get models from Revit that are fairly big, but they work. And I'm also proficient in 3D Studio Max using V-Ray as a renderer, but I'm going to show you just a narrow area that I work in. It uses snaps and reference angles and lines to sort of guess what your next move is going to be. When I first started using it, my first reaction was that it was a lot like herding chipmunks that are caffeinated. The second piece of software is called Lumion, and it's not a modeler, but it'll take a direct model from 3D Studio Max, Revit, or SketchUp. And SketchUp is where I feed my model in, but I can make changes to the SketchUp model and it'll be reflected in the Lumion render space. And you assign materials that are special for Lumion on the fly, and you can bounce back and forth from SketchUp to Lumion. And that way, any changes or modifications to the model are reflected. And lastly, I'll show you projects that I've done that were Lumion based, but SketchUp started. One is a jewelry store, a mega jewelry store that has a restaurant side, and I got to design the restaurant side. This is a project that'll be built in Frisco. But the other part of this is I did a bank, designed a branch bank called TBK Bank, and it's in Highland Park. And when I started this project, I got a lot of information, but basically the client didn't require a budget. And so they just said, go nuts. And so that's basically what I did, and you'll see it in the model. The other is a restaurant I did on McKinney Avenue. It's the last one I did this summer. And it was to come up with a really slick looking restaurant image with light scoops that I came up with. So people looking out the building it was scooted up to, it's part of a high rise that no one told me it was a high rise that was already built. So I modeled it without thinking that I should ask. So it turned into a long deal. But what happened was very satisfying to me, was that I got to design it and I got to illustrate it. But when they took it to, I think they call it, well, it's called ICSC, and it's a gathering of developers, architects, and owners. And they're all looking for new projects or to show their projects. And this restaurant got shown, and the client landed a really large, well-known restaurant. And I don't know what restaurant, don't care. So anyway, that's what I do. Here's some of my newer projects and a couple of my older ones. I showed some of my early work that I did in pencil, ink, and a couple in watercolor. So anyway, that's me. Bye. Excuse the slurp.